Apa ini? Ebin. Ebin ni. Prakash. Prakash apa itu?
Okay, so let us now ask the question, what is a worldview of life? We are talking about Christian worldview. This applies to any worldview. A worldview is an ideology or a philosophy or an outlook or an approach that controls our thinking and our actions. It decides our value system. Our worldview makes us what we are. A Christian worldview is a Christian ideology or Christian philosophy based on the Word of God. It's an outlook, Christian outlook, or a Christian approach that controls our thinking and our actions. It decides our value system. So that's what the worldview. So it's a philosophy, it's an ideology. It's an outlook on life, on any issue. You approach any issue. There is a marriage proposal. Your Christian worldview will decide many things on that one. On what basis you select a girl? Is it dowry? Is it beauty? Many issues on that one. This is all our, this is our philosophy. Yes, our philosophy of marriage, our philosophy of family life, our philosophy of having children. Many people these days have only one child or two child. Why? Because we don't have a Christian philosophy of children. We are given the philosophy by the government. See, that's a problem. The government decides for us. Should the government decide that issue? That's your Christian worldview. That's your Christian worldview. Yes? There are a lot of issues like that. It all comes down to it. I don't think women working is sin. I don't think so. Biblical women also worked. Ruth worked in the field. That's work those days. But the question is, if you have a Christian philosophy of life and family, why should you send your wife to work? That question you have to answer. There are cases where the wife has to go. There are cases where the wife should not go. What's the motivation? What's the need? Sometimes the wife has to work. There are situations. But most of the time, the wife wants to work because, that's the way all my friends are working. Is there sufficient reason to work? And having an extra income, it will make us richer, better lifestyle, so many other things. But then what are you sacrificing? Who takes care of your children? Your job, your position as a mother, is that more important than your position as a computer operator or an IT expert? Now these things you have to ask. Yes. Our worldview will decide all these things. You're building a house, how big a house you should build? It's your Christian worldview. You're building a house for your prestige because the Jones is having a 5-bedroom house, so you also decided, you must have. Or you are building a house for practical purpose. Yes, I want a big house because I wanted to entertain a lot of people, Christians. I want a lot of Christians come and live in my house, and I want a church meeting in my house, so I want a big hall in my house. There should be a reason, right? There should be, your Christian view will decide that. The Bible does not say how many square feet or meter your house should have. The Bible doesn't say that. But you must have a Christian worldview in deciding those things. In every little things. You want to buy a car, which car you will buy? What is the purpose of the car? If the car is to take you from point A to point B, if that's the whole purpose, then the question is, which car will cost me more, economical, maintenance, mileage, so many things, Which car is sufficient for me? Or you wanted to take a lot of people, pick up all the people in the church you can bring and then bring them, drop them back, then you buy a big car. Your purpose. That's your worldview. Your worldview. So a Christian should have his worldview in everything. That's a philosophy. That's, the outlook or an approach that controls. Christians do many things without having this worldview. They build a big house only because everybody is building a big house. They buy a big car only because everybody is buying a big car. A Christian should never do that. He should have better reason. He should have a philosophy that's based upon the Bible. Because the Bible says whatever you do, eat or drink, you do it for the glory of God. So this question he will ask, will it glorify God if I build a big house? Will it glorify God if I buy a big car? This is a question. And people don't ask that question, People say, well, you don't need to ask those questions. Why do you want to ask those questions? Because you already decided, right? So a worldview is a way of viewing or interpreting all of reality of life, all the realities of life, every aspect of it. A worldview is essentially an interpretative framework through which or by which one understands the data of life and the data of world. There's a lot of data in life. How we interpret those data? Yes, that's what it is. What job you should take? What's your guidelines? What's your Christian philosophy of taking a job? Better paying job you'll take, right? Or you will think about it, which job will give me more freedom to worship my Lord, to maintain a Christian testimony? Which job will help me for a good family life? I can spend the evening with my children, my wife. Which job will force me to work on Saturday or Saturday, Sunday, free? I can do some evangelism, I can visit brothers, sisters, I can, play with my children and all that. You have so many things you ask. But most of the people say that, 1 lakh as opposed to 25,000. Oh, what? Why you wanted to keep, and there is no question about it. And then I say, brother, I'm very busy at my work. You are very busy at your work. No, a person should not take that. So this is all your philosophy of life, worldview. I'm a father, I must have time with my children. My children are in the teenage years. That's the time when they need the father most. So should I resign my job and take another job? Dobson, he has written many books on it. When Dobson's son became a teenager, he resigned his job. Everybody asked, why are you resigning? He said, my son is a teenager. He needs me more than now. If I don't invest my time in him at the teenage, his family life will be a failure later. So I take a part-time job. That's a father's decision because you are a Christian worldview. And we don't go like that because, our worldview is not governed by the Bible. So, these questions we don't ask. We don't ask. So every stage and every issue, you have to interpret the data in the light of the Bible and then make the right decision. Yes. Some data is understood differently by different people because they look at it through different worldview. Now everybody may not have his or her worldview formulated propositionally. They may not be able to say that I believe concerning economics, concerning politics I believe, concerning law I believe, concerning religion I believe, concerning this I believe, ethics I believe. They may not be able to say that, but they have a worldview. Sometimes that worldview is purely pagan. That maybe I don't decide any issue by looking at the Bible. I do it as everybody else is doing it. My parents did this way. So I'm also going to do this way. My neighbors, everybody in our society did this way. So I'm going to do this way. Yes. In the early days, I remember when I was a little child and all, these, they have these, those days, they call them, the Ashan, Nalatirtha Ashan they call it. Today they have different names, but they call them the
Carpenter. Is it carpenter?
No. Yeah, all that. So they'll start, Hari Sri Ganapataye Namah. That's all. Yeah, that's what they all those people, Christians and everybody. Hari Sri Ganapataye Namah. What is your worldview? What is your worldview? Then asked. Why can't you say that Pidavanam Putranam Parishuddhatmavanam Studi, Isho Mashiach Studi? See, you let him to, write that and make your child to say it because you don't have a Christian worldview. You don't have a Christian worldview. That's the sort of thing. You allow in the hospitals, they do something. I remember when one of my child was born in the hospital, and the day when they were coming up, they bathed the baby and they they wrapped the baby and brought, there was a pot here. So, I said, whose child is it? Sarante. Then I sent them back, they washed it. So I told them in Malayalam, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും കാണുന്ന ഭാര്യ എൻ്റെ കൊച്ചിന് തെറ്റിരിക്കുക പ്രശ്നമാണ്. See, I have my worldview. Why should I put it on my child? They should not do it. So it's not enough that I wipe it out, but I need them to know that, what they did is wrong and why I don't permit it. If I don't do that, they will not understand it. My viewpoints, my value system. So it comes everywhere. It comes everywhere. It comes everywhere. If you teach your children from childhood, they very easily learn. They very easily learn it. Yes. My grandchild, Sunil and Joanna's son, eldest one, was 5-year-old, and on something, I don't know which was the occasion they had. They put on everybody this kuri or whatever it is. So when came to him, he said, "Young Christian," and the ticket. That's what he said, "Young Christian," and the ticket. Hindu Krishna. You put a very Christian on Rani Matra or Christian. Belmat. Teacher Bible to me. Yeah. So he went home and told him, "Daddy, you have to come and tell this teacher, I'm a Christian. Don't do anything that is Hindu." So, what I meant is that you teach the children certain things, they understand it much better. They definitely understand it better. His younger girl was, they required her, she sings nicely and, anything you teach her, she will do nicely. So the teacher wanted her to be in some dance to do something. So she said, "No, I will not dance, I'm a Christian." She's very young. The teacher said, "No, you have to dance." So I would have Oraka Praticha Kartave. ടീച്ചറിന്റെ മനസ്സിനെ ഒന്ന് മാറ്റണമേ, എന്നെ കൊണ്ട് ഈ ഡാൻസ് ചെയ്യിക്കരുതേ, ഞാൻ ക്രിസ്ത്യാനിയാന്നേ. But teacher was standing behind when she was praying it. എന്തുവാടി പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചത്? കർത്താവേ ടീച്ചറിന്റെ മനസ്സ് മാറ്റണമേ. So teacher said, "You don't have to do it."
Can you translate that?
Well, how to translate it? My granddaughter, she was only 4 years or 5 years old, and she was required to do some dancing. I don't know what dancing is, that she has to dress up and all these things, and she didn't want it to. She said, I'm a Christian. But the teacher said, no, you have to. So she didn't know what to do. So she sat down and started praying loudly. Lord, change the mind of the teacher. I'm a Christian, Lord. I'm your child, Lord. That sort of. So the teacher didn't know what was. She came, stood behind her, and she was praying loudly. Then she said, okay, you don't do it. So what my point is, you teach your children from childhood values. Those values they understand. But that means a major step for a little child, It's a major step for a little child. Because she was standing for her faith, She was not persecuted or anything for her faith, but she took a step. She took a step. My grandson, one day he went to school, there is a neighbor's girl, is their same class. She was sick, so she didn't go. So in the evening she came to my grandson to copy the homework. So she sat down on a carpet like this and on a table like this. So my son went and his hand touched the book. So she said, do this. He said, no, I'm a Christian. Oh, other Christians do. കത്തോലിക്കർക്കും മർത്തോമക്കാർക്കും ചെയ്യാം, ഞങ്ങൾക്കും ബ്രദറൻകാർക്കും ഇത് ചെയ്യാൻ പാടില്ല. She was not told why, but she understood. There are certain things we don't do. So we teach our children, that's why I said that from childhood on we teach our children certain things, then they will follow. For that one we have to have a Christian worldview, that's what I said. And that worldview need to be practiced at home. These may sound silly things, but they are not silly things. You are inculcating certain philosophy, Christian philosophy in their life. You are a Christian, certain things you cannot do because you are a child of God, because we believe in the Bible. Recently the Muslims had their Eid or something. So their neighbor is a Muslim and they brought some food, So there was big argument between mother and son. Mother said, you can eat it, because it's only food. So he called me, Pacha. So what? Muslim I was happy that he called me. He said, as far as I know, it is not part of any religious like a prasadam or anything. They prepared food and it's their festival, so they shared the joy. You can eat it. So then only he ate it. See? So what I have understood is that, you teach children from childhood, just like a Jewish person teach. The Muslims teach their value system, Though it is wrong, like don't touch Bible. Bible is a corrupt book, don't touch it. If you by accident touch it, you have to go and wash with hand. So a Muslim will not receive a copy of the Bible. No, you give the Muslim, they won't. Because from childhood on there, that's what makes conversion of Islam, Muslim very difficult. Very difficult. So they have successfully brainwashed their children in their worldview. Now we don't do that one. Our children go to schools, secular schools without a worldview. What all they do there? We even do not know what all they are forced to do there. And if they have that worldview, then they will be successful. So a worldview is essentially an interpretative framework through which or by which one understands the data of life and the world. Same data is understood differently by different people because they look at it through different worldview. Same data by different people. If a Jewish man is to walk into a restaurant And so he's done, the waiter comes and he asks what you have. Well, parota and beef. Okay? So he will ask certain questions. How was this beef killed? Cow was killed. Well, we slaughtered it. Was the blood completely bleeded? Yes. What did you do with the fat? We burned all the fat. When was this cooked? Oh, they can eat today and tomorrow. On the third day, if you eat, you shall be. So he has to ask all these questions, then only he can order. We will just go and eat and then we have, vomiting and this and that and, become sick for 5 days and because we don't ask questions, whatever, come on, we'll eat it. That sort of thing. And I'm not saying that we have to ask all those questions, that's not my point. But a Jewish man has his worldview concerning eating food. What could be eaten? He can eat only kosher meat. The Muslims, what they call halal chicken, halal. They can eat only halal. Means it's killed in certain particular way. Kosher meat is also the way. The meat is killed and prepared the Jewish way. And, Christians don't have anything. They don't even slaughter, I went into a chicken shop run by a Christian. And I said, I need 2 chicken. Okay. And I was in Trichur. In Trichur, they all, what they do is they hit on the top of the chicken like that, it dies. They never cut. Never cut. So I said, I want cut and bleed it. So I said, Muslim? No, I'm a Christian. Jehovah's Witness? No. I said, I am a very genuine, honest, normal, vanilla flavor Christian. So why you kill it? Because the Bible says you don't eat the blood of the animals. He has never killed chicken. So he asked me how to kill. So I have shown him how to kill. The poor man killed half, cut half and let it go. He jumped up and down. In that shop they had biscuits and they had bread and everything is filled with blood and he was using abusive language for me and saying, I was laughing literally because, I said, you being a Christian, you don't know how to kill chicken. That's shame. You blaming me for all these laws? I have nothing to do with it. See, that's the difference, If I was in a Muslim shop, this won't happen. But in a Christian shop, it happened. So, that's what the worldview is, a philosophy, that interprets every action, every movements and every data of life. I have gone to Cochin, there is a synagogue. And I talked to them, there's only 2 families now left. So I asked them, how do you eat beef here? I said, we haven't eaten beef for many, many years. So, you know why? They don't have a person who knows how to kill a cow ceremoniously. So we eat only chicken. Chicken we can kill, So there is a Jew who loves beef but can eat beef. It's all very, very interesting, think about it. Their dedication and commitments. So, we need to understand these things. Now, everybody may not have, as I said earlier, the worldview, formulated propositionally. It's good if we can formulate it propositionally and teach our children. But we must have. Even the educated and the so-called enlightened philosophers and scientists explain the data of life differently because their worldview views are different. They view God, man, birth, death, money, authority, family, etc. differently. How a person view and interpret these realities of life is his worldview. For example, take history. For a Hindu, history is always encyclical. What do they call? Jiva Chakram. Jiva Chakram. I have heard many Christians saying that, Jiva Chakram. What is it? Jiva Chakram. The Hindu can say it because they believe their worldview, they believe that, the life is a cycle going around. So they call it Jiva Chakram. So the history for a Hindu is encyclical, a repetition of events in history. The idea of progress or regress is restricted by this worldview of history. But for a Christian, history is not encyclical, it is linear. Moving from one point to a destiny in a straight line. The movement of history to the Christian is intelligently controlled by God, who is a personal being, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-present and eternal God. But to the Hindu, karmas unfold the encyclical movement of history, therefore they call it Jiva Chakra. And I have heard many times, Jiva Chakra, Jiva Chakra, Jiva Chakra. It's simply because we don't have the proper worldview. We don't believe in this cyclical, it's all going on in rotation. Man dies and then comes in the form of another one, and the political going on, transmigration of souls and all that. And also in so many years everything is repeated. No. The ancient Greeks also did not have a progressive view of history. Plato's philosophy of history was typical. The course of cosmic life is divided in the cycles of 72,000 solar years in length. During the first half of it, that is 36,000 years, creation, new creation comes from God. And man's state is happy, and ideal. But then begins the decay, the last 36,000 years. Each cycle, they alter everything. The half cycle is sickly and tragedy. It sinks from bad to worse until deity comes into step after again 36,000 years. So that goes on. That's what they believe. The Greeks never aspire for progress because of this encyclic system. They believed the perfect was past and no more progress. Greeks had a non-progressive outlook of life. That's a Greek philosophy. The good part is over. In the first 36,000 years is over. The last 36,000 years, nothing good can come. Yes, the Neoplatonic idea, it's called Neoplatonism. Neoplatonism is ruling among many Christians. Many Christians. Matter is evil, spirit is good. Why many people fast every week? Because they want to kill their body, flesh. Excuse me. Brasavara, ഞാൻ ഇപ്പോഴും ക്ലാസ്സിലാണ് കേട്ടോ. ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞ് അങ്ങോട്ട് വിളിക്കേ. ഇല്ല 10:30 ആയിട്ട് വിളിച്ചാൽ മതി. ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. സോ 2 പ്രാവശ്യം വിളിച്ചു. ഇപ്പോഴും ഞാൻ ക്ലാസ്സിലായി.
Big class.
ഈ ക്ലാസ് അല്ല, another class. So, this sort of things. But a Christian, for him the progress is coming, right? From Eden the journey starts. Where it's going to end? In the new heaven and the new earth. In between we have many problems, but it's always from Eden, the redemption, salvation, the church, the millennium, and the new heaven and the new earth. So we have hope. They don't have hope. They will say it's Kali Yuga. We say this is the dispensation of grace. Everything is gracious. You can be happy. God gives you the grace, the strength, the power, Our historical viewpoint is so different. So a little problem comes, maybe failed in an exam. What happened? Failed in the exam. So life is over. Why some people commit suicide? They cannot handle depression.